Hi and welcome back to my shop. Today I want to make a box.
Not just any box either. It'll house a plane that has been around for a while. I've traced it as far back as to my grandfather's uncle, who was born just shy of the turn of the previous century. He was a carpenter and he worked at a shipyard. By sheer coincidence, about a month after first learning about this type of plane, I visited my father and he asked me to have a look at some old tools that he had laying around, asking me if I wanted any of them. And what was it that stuck out of a larger tool tray? It was a dark wood handle of a Stanley 45, entirely complete apart from one connecting rod. A few years have passed since the plane first fell into my hands, and apart from cleaning it off and having purchased blades and rods for it, it has sat idly by on my shelf collecting sawdust. But now it's high time that it has a set place to be, where all the attachments and accoutrements that come with it can be kept together. Thanks to so many makers out there, plans are readily available for this exact project, and I've taken the liberty to draw most of the inspiration for my project from WB8 NBS. While I haven't followed either measurements or style to the T, I used their project as a guideline for mine.
Why does it look like I'm going to do this by hand? Well, I am, because it's hardwood, it's maple. I wanted to use a piece of oak, but my pieces of oak currently, the grain pattern is pretty, but it's also very big, so it will be a lot of waste. And this piece is reasonably square, reasonably flat. Should be easy to cut, because I'm not only going to cut it like this, obviously. It's also quite thick, so I'm going to do my very best to get... I'm going to get two sides out of this. I'm hoping I can manage to get three, but we'll see. Very last thing I'm going to do here, thanks to my speed square with the leveler, I'm able to get a reasonably good indicator where to cut. So that's done and reasonably straight, but enough to go on there. Then I think it was 20 something, and that will put us there for 20. So if we go 25, just to be on the safe side, so we have some to... So we got a little some to cut away, you know. I think that'll do us just well. 25, mark it there. 25, mark it there. The board's cut. And I gotta make the cut right here. So this is the area we're gonna use, of course. But it's still cupped a bit up here. I'm fairly certain I can remedy that by the aid of planes and whatnot. Trains and automobiles. No, never mind. One of them's dead now. There we go. You know, I'm starting to understand why hand tool YouTubers tend to make these kinds of cuts downwards as opposed to upwards. Oh well. Since it started, may as well finish them off. It's also at times important to root around underneath just to see how things are. Oh, come on! Oh! On the bottom half here, I went into two cuts. So this one didn't meet up with this one. La la la. Ah, but it's done. God. So in order to prepare for the cutting of this, I've made this, which, yes, is as complicated as it seems. It's a piece of wood with a hole and two screws. It's a rudimentary center finder. Put it on, twist it so both screws touch either side. Put your pencil in the middle, and then you just glide down along, making sure that both screws remain in contact with both sides at all times. Or both screws either side. And then to cross-reference, twist the center finder around, go the other way. It's a rough outline. This side skew. This will work. So it's 4.5. 4.5 divided by 2 is 225, which is exactly the middle of what I got here. Which means that my center finder is only 0.25 out. That's not bad for a tool literally put together in less than a minute. I cut 2 screws. Oh yeah, they're very warped. That explains it. Regardless, it works. Kinda. For the next foreseeable future, this is where I'll be cutting this with crosscut saws, because that's all I have, I think. Anyway, I'll get back to you when I'm done. I expect to be super swole. I wasn't going to show much of cutting this, but many years ago, getting to it now, I made this. Hang on, there we are. I made this, which is known as a frame saw? Whatever it's called. It's got a saw blade in the middle. It's not the one you're supposed to use, but it's the one I had. I made this frame. It's always kind of crooked. It's 2, for the runners, 2 pieces of Rowan, and the cross pieces are just pine. And again, of course, with a lot of the other stuff here, I found it on YouTube and I decided I want to make one. Now, I quickly realized that I was probably never going to make use of it, what with all the other tools I eventually bought. I figured, since this is going to be a rough cut anyway, with a lot of planing to do when I'm done, I might as well give it a go, because using my Japanese saw, it's taking a while. And this seems to do the trick. And just like that, never mind the out of breathness and the very heavy arms, I got it done. It's done. I now have 2 planks. The camera decided to go to sleep instead of record, but I've taken these now down to just above 1 centimeter thick. For those of you who are thus inclined, 1 centimeter equals less than an inch by a bit. I still think it's slightly on the thick side for a box, but we can always take it down further. As for right now, I'm going to start squaring them up and prepping them for their roughly final size. Gone through the trouble to make plans here. Let's see This one covers this and not much else, which means that this one covers here and not much else, and that's entirely fine. So for these two sides, right, so it looks like I get to do this again. That's gonna be good. Yeah. You know, it's smaller, should be quicker, but since it's smaller, I can first of all square it up on my table saw, and then I've actually measured it. I can use my bandsaw. So this is gonna be a lot quicker. And it's not perfect by any means, but maybe you'll be able to see the lines. Yeah. I've decided, since I'm using my bandsaw, that I'm going to try getting 3 slices out of this. Bandsaw failed miserably. That means we're back to hand woodworking. Now where did I put my vise? So, quick rethink here, and it's important for me to remember. I bet you I'm going to forget. Insert foreshadowing here. The sizes here, and I should have read this, but it's me, and I didn't, are internal. They have to be. Because measuring against my plane, it fits very barely inside here. So what I'm going to make account for now is that these are the internal sizes, and I got to add on the thickness of the boards times 2, and that's 0.9 of a centimeter, so that's 1.8 centimeters. 28 and 28.4 centimeters plus 1.8, 29, 30.2. I'm just going to round it up to 31, and then we'll cut down from that. Of course, if you're wondering how this will affect my already tiny, almost barely too small to be able to be used as edge pieces, we'll see. Alright, so here's to the final height, more or less. I didn't do away with most of the pretty grain pattern because of weakness in the wood. It was cracking, and I could break it off with my teeny little handsies, but this should do fine. Despite there's still a couple of cracks, but we'll work through it. As mentioned, seemed to work out just fine. 17.1. Oh my goodness, that's way far off. How about you? We're also way far off. Well, then it's good that we have the scraps from this that we can glue on. And that'll of course have to be done off camera. Glued them up. This one, I'm really pleased with this one. It's not really noticeable. This side it is, but you know, whatever. I just had to take the largest piece I could. The reason for that is so I can cut away this bit as much as can go of this, because it's, although it's very pretty, interesting, unique, etc. I think it's gonna just frizzle away. I've drawn up the first line here now, and everything's looking okay until we get to the very, very end, where there's a tiny little piece that will undoubtedly fly off. So it's like a couple of millimeters thick at most. So what I'm going to try is to redraw it even more accurately and take into account this piece to avoid having it knocked out. Ideally I want to cut off the whole bit. We'll see how far I can get that done. While I cannot stress enough how rough it is, it's actually a box now that sits together. I'm going to clean up the joints so it'll sit a little neater, hopefully match up even better along some corners here. So it's glued up now. I've taken it upon to, sort the edges out somewhat. Now it's time for the fun part, the sanding.
I'm quite pleased with how the project ended up. The only thing worth mentioning is that I could have been a lot more precise with the finger joints, and I accidentally ended up gluing the set piece for the plane on the wrong side in regards to the lid. I still need to make a little stop block for the blade cases, and I'm not sure yet on a finish. I'm debating oiling or if I want to stain it slightly darker. Anyway, thank you so much for watching.